correctly summarizing your version if I say, if I am to follow the sequence of events that you have outlined in your statement, which details how Minister Cele interfered with the work of the National Commissioner. Am I correct if I say his interference was extreme and was more deeper than what appeared in our eyes? And there's a lot that he did not tell us when he appeared before this ad hoc committee.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. It is true. And for the fact that I was the responsible for administration in the police, you know, in a day, these are just few examples that I've attached. In a day, we will receive 2 or 3 directives that says, I want response by 4 o'clock, or I want response by a certain time frame. Now, National Commissioner was bombarded with this having, and now we must keep on researching. I must involve legal services to assist me in other instances. It was actually deeper than what we understand.
Okay. So, Mr. Hlungwani, is it Mr. Hlungwani or Mr. Hlongwana?
I think it's Hlungwani.
Hlungwani. Yeah, because the way I spelled his name here is HLUNGWAANI. So that is Hlungwani. I don't know if that is the correct pronunciation. When he was here, he narrated the Grepa story and he associated it with the ANC conference in 2017. He says he was put under pressure to authorize and he refused. He refused, and one of the reasons why he refused is because there was a Grepa which was far lesser than the projected amount for the Grepa in question. Because he said the Grepa for which he was persuaded was around 46 million. Whereas there was a Grepa, I can't remember the specific amount, which was cheaper than that. The result of which he did not authorize that Grepa, and the Grepa was finally not purchased. But even after the Grepa was not purchased, you persuaded him, you, General Vuma, to pay for the services that were not rendered. Meaning, even when the Grepa was not finally procured, but you persuaded him to pay the service provider you intended to purchase the Grepa from. So what is your reaction to that?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Very interesting. I'm sure the Grepa that he was canvassing for whatever that amount was the one that he was told by his handler to persuade. But as I said, my involvement was only in one day, on the instruction of the National Commission, to go and assist these people. If there will be a need, give them guidance, because I don't want people to go beyond the relevant prescript. And that was I ended up with the briefing by the General Tsumane when he said, the National Commission said we must stop this. And the National Commission instructed Tsumane to ask it in writing from Sisoko, which a letter came from Sisoko in writing. Now, there is a Deputy National Commissioner responsible for crime detections where crime intelligence resort under. There is an acting divisional commissioner. There is even a major general under Brigadier Hlongwane. How can I pass all those people and go and give instructions in an environment that is not mine? It is not true.
So your final position or the conclusive response you are giving is that is a pure lie. You never persuaded him, even after a decision not to continue with procurement was taken, to pay the Grepa. Because the question that I asked to him was, did General Vuma explain to you the reasons for paying for services which were not rendered? And the response there too was, You said to him the service provider was already approached and there was a need to pay, I think, if my memory serves me well, an amount, I can't remember if it was 7 million or what, but you persuaded him to pay for that amount. And the question was for which service? Because the service provider in question was finally not appointed. So it's a pure lie. It's a pure lie. It means if what you are saying is anything to go by, Mr. Hlungwane misled this committee. Is that your evidence?
That is my evidence, Honorable Chair, because if he says he paid, he should have produced document. When you pay, there are transactions, there's invoice, there's all these documents that are compiled and they are on the system. I did not do that.
And he also told this committee that he was advised by General Sithole that Minister Mbalula instructed him to consider the grepper in question. Can you comment on that?
Remember when I say that Bamuza, who was a brigadier female, together with Hlungwane, they were being handled by McBride. I don't know such any information, and I was never involved in their intelligence briefings. I was only involved for those few hours. I don't know about that.
Were you called in a meeting during the ANC conference, which was discussing about this grepper?
I wasn't.
You were never part of that meeting?
No.
Okay. Let's go to the PPEs, General. I want to understand you correctly here. You are saying initially there was a transversal contract which consisted of companies which were compiled by the National Treasury. But because of scarcity of stock and high demand of PPEs, the National Treasury extended authority to appoint or for appointment or for procurement in all departments to allow them or to enable them to appoint any company which can deliver services. Am I correct?
You are correct.
I want us to take it from the beginning and move to a particular point which I want clarity on.
You are correct. They issued the National Treasury Instruction 8 of 2019-20 to all government departments that they can approach any company as long as the company is registered on that department's database.
Okay. Following that notice by the National Treasury, and then you now as a department had to dissect potential service providers, and Mkwenya came with his list of companies for which he claimed to have been instructed by Minister Cele. Is that correct?
That is correct. And he came with those companies when myself and he were attending a board of directors of Parliament meeting.
So how many companies did Mkwenya present?
She was sneaking papers to me, and I'm sharing the meeting, and I said, please take these companies to General Reed. I'm not dealing with the procurement. So he took. I have one example here, if I'm allowed, of the WhatsApp that I got from General Reed, which proves exactly what I'm saying, where she sent the company to General Reed and said, here's the business card of this man of this company, and this is the company I was trying to give to General Vu. I have that. And that company, interestingly, is the name of the company is the over and above. It deals with skin and body care.
Okay. Yeah. And then somewhere in your statement, you are saying ultimately you did not appoint those companies because they had no enough or adequate stock.
due to the fact that we were approaching, generally it was approaching any companies, and out of desperation, he did send people to go and do a due diligence in terms of they wanted to see the stock,
Okay.
but there was no stock.
So you appointed other service providers.
Other service providers.
How many service providers did you appoint?
There were many.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, SIU investigates you following the proclamation that was issued by the president in relation to the procurement of PPEs. Now, you are saying, I think you are responding to the evidence leader, Advocate Mkize. You said to her, the issue here that is in question is the pricing of the PPEs. And you are saying you had no control over that because you appointed companies because there was a scarcity of stock. Two, there was high demands. There were high demands. Now, the question that I want to, or the aspect that I want you to clarify me on, General, is you exclude companies presented by Mgwenya on the basis that they don't have adequate stock. You appoint your own companies that you appointed. Within the, and I assume that if you use a point of inadequacy of stock, then it means that the companies that you appointed are not going to have that shortfall. It means there will be adequate stock. Now, you are saying here, the reason why you overlooked or you had no control over the pricing of the PPEs in these companies is because, one, you were operating under pressure. Two, there was a scarcity of stock and there were high demands. Now, why is that a situation whereas you were using a criteria of adequacy and inadequacy of stock during the appointment process? Why do you still face the same challenge of a company that you appointed of the inadequacy of stock? Whereas you excluded companies on the basis that they do not have stock. Now, the ones that you have appointed yourselves are having the same problem that the companies you excluded had. So I just need clarity on that aspect.
Thank you very much, Chair. The first companies that were approached who did not have stock had already committed the money, which what I explained. In the procurement process, when you issue an order for 100 Rand, for example, that 100 Rand will be fixed. You will not be able to use that 100 Rand up until that 100 Rand an invoice has been received or ultimately the order is cancelled. That money is released for real use. That's what I explained earlier on. And I said, these companies, if they had stock, General Reed was going to purchase from them, but they did not have stock. Up until General Reed received from National Treasury this company, which is Red Roses, to say they will be in a position to deliver. And I'm talking sanitizer. This message I'm talking about talks about sanitizer. These companies manufacturing sanitizer, maybe they can deliver. Now, when General Reed issued an order to this company, there was a price list which was named Annexure A, which coupled the Treasury instruction that was issued to all government departments. And I did explain that in that price list of National Treasury, there was no 25 liter. But the price list made, the company was able to deliver the 25 liters. So there was this issue regarding how do they determine the pricing of a 25 liter, which is not on the price list of National Treasury? Then there was a methodology from National Treasury, which was provided in order to make a determination of the fact that the price that was charged by this company, is it reasonable and comply with the National Treasury price list? Now, and I even emphasize the fact that due to scarcity and all these challenges, prices were escalating, were going high. We applied for a deviation authority to buy even if the prices were above the prescribed price, because we wanted to save lives of the members of the police. And immediately after that, I instructed General Reid that go through your list and check which companies did not comply with the price list that was provided by National Treasury, and let us report to those companies to the Competition Commission, which we did. There was a recourse to be undertaken after the situation subsided.
Okay, no, let's move to another question, General, because I have many questions. I wanted to take this further because still I'm not satisfied, but I still have a couple of questions. So when you conduct your investigations, how do you conduct them? The investigations that you conducted, do you rely on complaints? Are there any complainants who submit complaints? And upon receiving those complaints, do you unilaterally conduct investigations, or you formulate a team that conducts an investigation collectively with you?
The investigations that I've highlighted that I conduct is as a result of the mandate in line with my responsibilities. And I said we firstly conduct the audits, and from the audits, when there are signs of irregularities, we go further and deeper. And I appoint a team which is already there from forensic audit investigation, who conduct those investigations on behalf of the office. And constantly, I sit with those people and they give me feedback, and I'm providing guidance as to where they must look, because most of these challenges are experienced in the environment of procurement. And safe to say that we even had a strategy that we designed for contract management strategies due to the fact that we realized that there are serious problems. There was a contract management strategy that was designed, which we were implementing, and we were meeting on a quarterly basis, and I chaired that particular contract management strategy. Among others, challenges that we experienced was the fact that when a contract has been concluded, the operatives or end users, they will stay with the contract without checking when is the contract expiring. So in a contract management strategy, we will get presentations of all contracts and which ones are expiring when, etc. So from 1 year, we'll continuously write reminders and remind the business units, depending on the complexity of such a contract. If a contract is too complex, we'll remind them well in advance so that they start initiating the process of compiling their specifications and initiate the process of renewing the contract, or whether the contract needs to be re-advertised or not. You will find, I used to find that there are stacks and stacks of contracts that are on a month-to-month basis.
Yeah, no. My apologies, General. Okay. I think I've gotten what I was looking for.
All right.
So somewhere in your statement, you are saying amongst the allegations you were investigating is an allegation against Mr. Qele, an allegation that he used money for his legal services. I think that money is 5-point-something million or 6-point-something. I saw it in your statement. Yes. So how far did you go with that investigation?
There was that particular matter where General Qele, when he was required by the Zondo Commission to come and compile a statement, he was assisted by a legal team, attorney firm.
Mm.
My pardon. Now, those legal fees, they already paid something like 5.5 million.
Mm. Mm.
And there was an additional invoice, which was 1.5, 1.6, somewhere there,
Mm.
which also required to be paid. Even the state attorney itself queried that particular invoice to say, "Hi, this is too much. What is this invoice for?" So it required to be investigated, which is a process that I initiated. Unfortunately, I couldn't complete it because I was suspended.
Okay. So you don't know progress in that investigation.
I don't know.
You don't know if it was thrown out of the window or investigation is in progress.
Yes.
Okay. On paragraph 95, you are saying during your meeting in the Eastern Cape, you approached General Nchinga. Is that the correct pronunciation?
Correct.
General Nchinga,
Mhm.
who confessed to you that there are evil plots, and she mentioned many generals here who were plotting against you, and she said to you she is going to call General Masemula to tell him that she is withdrawing an investigation against you. And she also undertook to write a letter on the following Monday. I'm just quoting verbatim because I did not write it down, but I still remember what it is entailed. So she promised to write a letter on Monday, and I think you ended by only telling us about a call which she made to General Masemula. You did not tell us whether he did what she undertook to do, to make a call on the following Monday to to write a letter advising Mr. Masemula, General Masemula, that she is withdrawing the investigation. So what ultimately happened? Did she write that letter?
And thank you very much, Honorable Chair. She did write a letter, as I said, that on that Monday, which was the 13th, when I had a deep meeting with the National Commissioner, we even deliberated on this matter. It's just that I didn't have time to give more details. We deliberated on it, and Masemula acceded that yes, he has received all the files and everything that was given to General Nchinga.
You did not see the content of the letter?
I wasn't interested. All I was interested was they must stop doing the wrong things.
So after now, she gives you facts, or after she gave you this information, because she even mentioned names to you of generals, didn't you see a need of either lodging a formal complaint internally or opening a case?
I didn't think of doing that because this is the information where my boss, the National Commission, is colluding with the group of people. And even on the day when this lady was supposed to come, I even said to Masemula on that meeting of Monday, because you are able to talk to this lady and I'm struggling, call her to your office and I will come so that she sign her final document. And when I went there, I found General Masemula with these people and this lady. Then I just make sure that she signs the document and my process is concluded, and I left them there. It's very difficult that I will complain. Whom was I going to complain to? I'm sure externally. Hence, these are the matters that's compared to me.
The plot was widespread.
Was right at home.
Was widespread internally. So you had no shoulder to cry on. Okay. So you are saying General Masemula gave you an offer to which you did not agree, but ultimately you reached an outside court settlement agreement, which was later reduced to a court order. Now, what is the difference between the court or the offer that was initially given to you by General Masemula and the settlement agreement that you ultimately agreed upon? What was the difference between the two, and what convinced you? Because you said, yeah, you wanted to tell your side of the story. You wanted society to know the truth. So what ultimately convinced you to enter into a settlement agreement, whereas you initially refused to do so?
Thank you very much. There is two different offers. The first offer that Masemula enticed me on was an early retirement package, which was paying me my normal normal pay up until beyond the retirement period, meaning I should have agreed with Masemula that September was the last month. It was in October, but they wanted me to end in September, and they will pay me whatever. Thereafter, I will get my retirement, and that was the offer I rejected. The offer that they brought in court was an offer that was negotiating nigga. I had those 3 cases of unlawful suspensions that only him was supposed to testify, and the arbitrator issues a verdict, which he did not want to attend. Then there were those rulings that I've highlighted that were ruled in my favor, where I was supposed to go to work. The other one said the case is finished, which he alleged to be reviewing.
Okay.
So those were the things that we agreed upon. But there was still a case of the PPE, which I said, this case must not go. I want to go through the hearing on this particular
I get you, General. I'm rushing because my time is about to end. So then the public protector, you are saying there is a complaint which was lodged with the public protector. Who was the complainant?
According to the letter, they said the complainant was Mbuyiseni from EFF. No?
Or he complained to
the public protector.
To the public protector.
Yes.
So briefly, if you are to compare your relationship with General Sithole vis-a-vis your relationship with General Masemula, how would you differentiate the impact on your performance based on the relationship that you had with them respectively? Did it affect your performance at work? And if it did, how?
I worked with General Masemula, I think, for 3 months. Yeah. April, May, June. And in 3 months, a lot happened. I worked with General Sithole for a longer period. For example, when I was transferred by General Patlane from Inspectorate to Protection and Security Services, I found General Sithole there as a divisional commissioner, which I worked with him up until when he was a national commissioner. I may say that General Masemula made it difficult for me to execute my roles and responsibilities, but General Sithole gave me an opportunity to exercise my roles and responsibility with ease.
Okay. So far, I've only asked you 20% of the questions that I prepared for you. But the last one, because the chair here, I know you'll cut me. Then the last one is, you are saying General Cele sent SAPO members to fetch you, and they took you to his residence. Who are those members, and how did they fetch you? Did they just come uninvited to your house and grabbed you, or they called you, or you met somewhere and they advised you to go to General Cele's house? How did it happen?
They called me and they asked me, where are you? I told them I'm at home. They said, no, we are coming to fetch you. General Cele wants us to fetch you at home. Send us the location. I sent them the location. It was the president and the general secretary.
Thank you very much. I don't want to be cut by the chair. Thank you, Chair.